Aaron, when we first met, you were talking about kind of a broad range of work that you were doing, but you zoned in with AmeriCare.
AmeriCare's, they contacted me and asked me to represent them, and I said, whenever I do anything with a charitable organization, I always say, I'll do it if you let me shoot, because that's my contribution to you. It's, of course, and then I give the photographs to the organization, and then they have a show or something like that. So these are just little examples of when I went to the Dominican Republic, and we went to hospices that all over the country.
I really like this one.
Yeah,
What was that?
This is like a 15-year-old girl who just had her baby. Now they're trying to educate all the women down there to breastfeed and how to take care of their children and this, that. And this gentleman was dying here.
There's almost this invisible quality that you have to have, and to be able to capture people. How do you transition to that world for yourself?
Well, I practice becoming invisible, you know, and moving quietly, moving around the subject, not letting off too much energy, being very benign, you know, but keeping my camera in view so that they can see what I'm going to do, but somehow building trust.
Do you have one thing that you'd like to shoot? You know, landscape, fashion, documentary, street work?
I love street photography, I love fashion, and I want to marry the two.
Yeah.
I would like to put a beautiful woman in a serious working relationship with the subject that's going on in the pictures, whether you're in Africa or South America in a mine or wherever it is. I think they can be dynamic pictures. I tried to do it with some models that I've dated and, you know, been involved with, and we've come up with some pretty good pictures.
I did something very similar to that last week, actually. I've done a few of these with a friend of mine who's a stylist, and this time we went down to Gainesville, and he brings a couple bags of designer clothes, and we just walked around, went to some bars, some restaurants, and just found people who we thought had this kind of, you know, sort of distinct beauty to them. They weren't models, they weren't just regular people living there. He puts them in the clothes, and we just kind of have them, you know, act natural, interact with either their friends, or maybe we put a couple strangers together if we think they'll look good together, and the process just kind of unfolds naturally.
Just starting to work for Rolling Stone, we used to invite cover subjects to go on these little mini trips. You know, no publicists, no stylists. We'd take a bag of clothes like you talked about, and we'd meet like Brad Pitt in Mexicali.
Yeah, cool.
And near San Diego. And, you know, we would spend 2 days just kind of walking on the street, and by the end of the day, the sun would be setting. There'd be beer and doobies and music, Neil Young in the background, and we'd be in the middle of Mexico somewhere. We had no idea where we were.
Yeah.
And, you know, those were the good old days when, you know, you let the experience become an event, and then the photographs were just fantastic.
Yeah.
I think there's a real bridge to, you know, photography, to filmmaking, obviously, and to music. I think those are the kind of the great triangles of the world, you know, when it comes to that. Why do you think that?
Because you can do it alone. It's a solo thing, man. I mean, you can be in control of, you can be creating art by yourself and wherever you are in the world at day or night, you know, and that's an actor's best friend, you know. And plus, I think actors and musicians it's all about composition. It's all about putting things in place one after another or in the frame. And so you're always looking in pictures.
Along those lines, I think there's probably something to wanting to inhabit different worlds as well. I mean, you know, I've never acted in any form, but I can see like the fascinating quality of like kind of becoming someone else for a period of time.
Yeah.
And photography, you always remain yourself, but you are constantly entering into these different worlds. I mean, I remember this really bizarre, I mean, I've had a lot of bizarre experiences, but one particularly like striking one was, I was doing the story about Jeff Bridges some years ago, this great thing where I just went around the country with him for about 10 days as he was promoting Crazy Heart, and he was a great guy. Had a good time, and I went to the like Golden Globes after party with him and some other folks. The next day I was going to Haiti. The earthquake had just struck. So 24 hours later, I was in Port-au-Prince in the midst of the kind of the apocalypse, it seemed. That felt like some bizarre movie to go from these different worlds so rapidly. But it's I find that like a fascinating challenge. If you're photographing something like war, you don't alter or distort beyond the very act of taking pictures. Of course, that is a distortion.
This was not a donkey that you brought in.
That was not. Yeah, I didn't ship that donkey in. Yeah, that was.
Because like at first I thought maybe that was something that you had brought in with your camera bag.
It was there though.
Well, I got thank goodness it was there, because that would otherwise have been a pretty boring day.
When I was looking through, when we were culling down some of the photographs today, I was seeing the sense of complex compositions, a surreal quality to the work, obviously storytelling, but this could be a great still from a movie. It made me nervous because it looked like a real scene, but you tell me that's there's something else going on there.
Yeah, it's a training down at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. They have these fairly realistic training courses that simulate you being under fire. What the military does well is it creates these instinctual responses, and that's what something like this was meant to do.
Aaron, you were telling me a little bit about you being in this incredible situation in Puerto Rico when you were doing Rum Diaries.
Yeah, when we were in Rum Diary, I had some time off, so I would go walk around with my camera, and there was a little street gang that would
follow you?
Congregate. Well, they wouldn't follow me. They would congregate on a bridge, and they were known as a little gang, and they would terrorize people and this sort of thing. And I just walked in among them one day, and then for weeks and weeks I took pictures of them. I would just come and go as I please, get in the middle of them, get right in their faces, and I got very honest pictures because they weren't performing for me. And I felt like that there was some truth in those pictures.
What's your favorite moment?
My favorite moment is when they're all sitting on the railing of the bridge, and just after having been in the water, so they're dripping wet and looking out, and you can see each one of their personalities. When I look at the picture, I imagine, I dream about their futures. Where are they now? What are they doing? And how I was in their life for that little bit of time.
As soon as I took my camera out, a guide basically spotted me, and just a bunch of people just set upon me and another guy I was with.
It's building trust, and it's asking permission without words and with energy, saying, I'm going to do right by you. I'm putting myself in this situation. It's a very vulnerable situation.
The type of, for lack of a better word, war photography that I'm interested in is making it very personal.